Hello, everybody. My name is Noah Kittner,
I'm Jack Mahoney.
and this is Hellish Scrub. As you can see here at the bottom, we have all the names of our fellow collaborators on here. Great folks, great folks. We'll move on here. Oh, a bit. All right, so the general vision of Hellish Scrub is a 2D top-down action-adventure game where you are the janitor of the underworld. The core loop here is that you want to avoid enemies, scrub up trash balls, and then send these trash balls flying and starting chaos amongst the map.
Not just causing chaos, but particularly trying to clean with them. So
Yeah.
you want to sort of multi-purpose it, so
Mhm.
not rolling over enemies and rolling over other trash.
Yeah, exactly.
And eventually throwing them into lava.
And boosting your combo and point meter system that we have as well. Yeah.
And then for overall progression, as you explore these messy rooms, you clean them. As you clean them, you unlock adjacent rooms. And as you clean these other rooms, you eventually clean the district, which is the collection of all these rooms, to the point where the boss door will open up and you can fight him and then move on to the next district. That's the progression.
Yeah.
Moving on to the current state, it's where we are right now is pretty similar to our previous vision. We've just added a lot of new features to sort of flesh out the game. I'd say the biggest add-on that we have is the heat meter. Instead of having a traditional health system for the game, we wanted to have it so the player character was essentially invincible to the enemies, and the enemies couldn't take any traditional damage from the player character. The only way to kill either of them was to knock them into lava. This was quite restricting for level design, and just having that be the only kill condition for the whole game. And so young William gave us an excellent suggestion to make it so that heat was a more general thing, and that lava was just a great source of heat. So oftentimes it is your best source of destroying trash and stuff. And everything uses this heat system. So all the enemies track their own heat, all the trash tracks its own heat. The trash balls do, the player does, of course. And a lot of things can give off heat. So like steam vents give off heat, enemy attacks oftentimes give off heat, and they also knock back the player. And sometimes a player can't give off any direct heat with his attacks, but he can knock enemies near lava, which can burn them. He can bait enemies into hitting each other, which will add heat to them. Of course, he can roll enemies up into trash balls and then throw those trash balls into lava, or get enemies to attack those trash balls, and that will destroy the trash balls and anything inside them, so the enemies you rolled up as well. That's the most consistent form the player has to defeat these enemies. And it gives us a lot more flexibility and a lot more creative design with the enemies too, because previously they had to be pretty geared and pretty intelligent to be able to roll the player into lava. Like, we would have to have enemies that were specifically designed to knock out the player or stun them or do drastic knockback, and then enemies that would capitalize on that by like going and grabbing you and then throwing you in the lava, and it would have to pathfind really well, and it would have to sort of dodge around objects, and it was just a big headache. But this heat system really allows us to make the enemies a consistent threat to you, while also not having to have the design super specific. So that was the biggest probably addition to design we have so far. We added some other stuff as well, such as the combo meter. That was not part of our original vision. We threw it out like as sort of a stretch goal idea, but we actually have it implemented now and like a little bit more well thought through. It's really more of a streak system than a combo system. It's designed to encourage you to keep moving and keep clearing the level, not necessarily trying to go for big combos all at once. Like, you're a lot less rewarded if you, for say, just get a huge trash ball and throw it in the lava in like one go and then lose your streak. You're a lot more rewarded, however, if you keep your streak going throughout a whole room, even if you're not doing crazy stuff through the whole room. So it's really designed to keep you moving. Although we did have some of the sharks, or one of the sharks did make a good point that I'm not sure if I completely agree with him, but we definitely need to look into it at the very least. That like it didn't exactly do that. He felt that it more incentivized exactly the opposite of what we wanted, where players would sort of try to set up the room and trying to get a bunch of big points at once. I think that was more a problem of him not understanding how the streak system worked, because we didn't give enough feedback, so he couldn't see when he was getting points, because you continuously refresh your streak and get like more point rewards as you're completing a room gradually, rather than just like a bunch of points when you do a like knock a huge trash ball into lava.
Yeah.
So I think he didn't understand the streak system, but
Yeah.
that's more a problem that we, that's our fault because we didn't have enough feedback on it, so it's hard to understand.
It's definitely not a perfect like system with our combo meter how it is right now with the way it refreshes kind of. But yeah, well, that's plenty of stuff that we can talk about later with what we want to improve on.
We barely have any enemies in. We have one enemy in. His AI is terrible. I'm not. Sorry, this sounds like a backhanded insult at our programmers. It's not at all. It's just there's a lot of factors that we had to keep in mind when making this enemy. And another thing, we invested a lot in future proofing. So we made a lot. Our lead programmer Zach, he worked really hard on making the enemies really well future proofed. So he built a whole system where they sort of have behavior nodes, and other programmers can sort of attach these and detach these, and we can recycle these nodes. So none of the enemies are hard-coded, but they kind of have a web of behaviors that you can apply to them and attributes that you can apply to them. So it makes it a lot more simple for implementing enemies in the long run. Of course, the trade-off for that was it took a lot more time to implement it in the beginning. But I think that's going to be fine, because next semester we're really going to be able to roll ahead on implementing enemies.
It helps even us primitive beings be able to understand.
That's
like,
right.
How some node, like the more node-based stuff we have, the better, because I think that's much easier for us non-programmers to understand and for people that are coming onto the project to work with.
No, I completely agree. I think it would actually be feasible to be able to teach one of us how to implement enemies and make new enemies. Whereas before, like hard coding it, there's no way. We don't know C#, so it would have been impossible. But so that's very cool. He's still working on the pathfinding behavior. That's the last major step. Pathfinding is going to be critical to our enemies still. Even though we went for the more heat design, they still need to be able to sort of lock in on the player and know where they are and be able to draw a line between them and go around obstacles. But we have some. He's working on that, and so once that's done, the enemy bottleneck is going to open up, and we'll be able to get a bunch of them in. So that's exciting. Well, our level design right now, we don't really have a lot of levels made.
It's pretty primitive.
It is quite primitive. We have a very primitive tutorial. It needs a lot of work. It got tore up a little bit by the sharks, and fair enough.
It doesn't have a very good transition. It just kind of transitions from the kind of tutorial setup we were going for in this last build straight into like the next, like just a generic like set of rooms and stuff. It's not really what we'd want in our final district, but it's like a good sort of prototype, I guess, of what would be in a normal district. Leading up to a boss.
Definitely need to work on that. All the player moves are in for the most part, except the tumble state, which is its own rabbit hole, but not necessary. All the player moves are in now. The player moves well. This is important. So the last time we did a presentation like this, the player sort of was attached to the ball like Snake or something, and they sort of like gained speed as they were behind it. I forgot. We really overhauled how the player worked. Like that's one of the biggest things we worked on through the semester.
I think that bug might actually be in this current build, but
they do gain a little speed as the player moves.
But that's not intentional.
That's not intentional. More importantly, the balls are completely separate from the player, and you're not playing it like speeding up and gaining acceleration. So you're playing. It's more like playing hockey rather than being a trash ball semi. Which I think feels a lot better.
We got some good feedback as well about our swipe mechanic and how it needs to have a little bit more power behind it in the current build that we were playing.
Oh yes.
With the sharks, it's a little weak. It doesn't really feel like a big boost, but I think that also has to do with our you have like a certain depth, I guess, of your swipe, and the closer the ball is to you when you swipe it, the more power you get behind it.
Yes.
And I think in future builds we'll mess around with that more.
It feels a little fiddly.
Yeah. So yeah.
We can go into more of that when we go into our future plans too. I don't think there's anything else to update them on the current state with. A lot of new art. New art stuff.
New art, new sounds. New music, but
I don't think there's any sprites from the original build that remain now.
Yeah,
they got all overhauled, so that's cool. Yeah, moving on.
I would say communication was a big key for a lot of us. Jack, our producer, right here, he did like a ton of work, just like communicating with every programmer on what their tasks should be for that week. We could have done a lot better job of meeting regularly the whole group.
Yeah, it was a deeper problem than that, though, too. Like, that was just a solution for the problem.
Yeah.
It was mainly a thing that a lot of people didn't understand what was going on with the rest of the group. So it was kind of insulated. People were insulated from each other. Like, a lot of times we discuss design stuff and then not update Caleb, who was our lead designer, on like our ideas and stuff.
Especially if somebody happened to be absent from class.
Yeah, exactly. So, and stand-ups just weren't cutting it for keeping people updated because people weren't some people weren't showing up to class sometimes, and people, of course, were just tired. So I don't think everyone was paying the best attention during stand-ups.
Yeah.
We were just kind of going through the motions. So I'm not sure how we're gonna fix that. It wasn't a huge problem. Like, our communication was serviceable. It just could be a lot better, so people feel like more of a part of a holistic group, and they're sort of making their own independent decisions based on like how they understand the design of the game better. You know, if they understand how the direction the whole game's going. I think that's important to have a sort of cohesive vision for everyone. So I'm not sure how we're gonna fix that, but it does need to be addressed.
Yeah.
That being said, communication was serviceable this
Yeah,
semester.
we did.
for the
I
most
still
part.
would say we did a great job of just.
Tasks were getting done.
Yes,
Things were getting communicated. There was at least like a pipeline of a command, and like ideas were flowing.
Do you want to talk about art?
Oh, sure. I overestimated what I could do, of course, because I am not the smartest guy,
We all do it.
and
It's all good.
I couldn't really produce and do like full-time art at the same time. Maybe I could have if I invested more. I guess, I don't know. I didn't realize how much it would be, especially for a lot of things that are deceptively complicated. Like for the pixel animations, we decided to plow forward with the 8-facing directionality for the player, and we're probably going to keep that for the enemies because it looks so darn cool. And it adds a lot. It adds a nice touch to our game. I think it looks very visually appealing the way the
It's very
janitor.
smooth for like a pixel game.
Yes,
So,
it feels.
I think that's the way.
It feels very
we want it.
nice, especially for a game where it's like it feels so. We want it to feel so choreographed, like a dance, like the One Shark said. I think we can go into that more later, but the directional facing feels really nice for that.
Yeah.
Especially for like aiming the swipe and trash ball. Anyway, so that took a lot of time. We finally just got like the first draft of the new player animations in. We updated the player design. That was a big deal. I wanted him to be bigger. Like, I want him to be like a big buff, like blue collar, like janitor, but like due to restrictions on the hitbox and there's some jank, and it's not exactly. It makes it, if we don't have a squat little fella, it's not exactly clear for the player where his hurt box begins and ends, because if he was any taller, then we'd have to make his hurt box like around his feet, which makes sense for a 2D game, you know, because we're showing that like the trash ball's only hitting you around your legs. It's not coming up and hitting you in your head, of course, but then it's not exactly clear where that hurt box starts, whereas if we just have him as a little squat fella, it's just all of them is a hurt box, done and done, you know. Quite simple solution there. Some more jank with like swiping and stuff, so we kind of kept the squat design for him. We might look into that later. Probably not. This design of the player is pretty solid, I think.
It looks good.
A lot of new tile sets, concept art and stuff, new cover art. That's about it for art.
Sound went. It went pretty well. It's a little bit of a confusing state at the moment, just because we're working with limited like total assets right now, since we're still pretty early on in development. So it was. Yeah, we're starting to get there, but sound was a little tricky at times just because we didn't know exactly how final things were going to turn out. So, but I'd say overall, like figuring out how to make sound effects for stuff I wasn't sure like how they were going to turn out, like visually, and like what they should be, like how long they should be sound wise. It was good to just be able to learn those things, I guess, like better, and just be able to like sort of estimate on how things were going to pan out. On the implementation side of things, I was not really familiar with any kind of implementation programming, so it was really good to have those programmers come in, and Deshaun Turner, who's one of our programmers, he really helped me out in getting a lot of the stuff from FMod into the game. And yeah, I think we added a lot of new stuff, like just a lot of sound effects for the player that are actually working in game now, and some music and stuff as well. That really, I think, brings the environment more to life. So, and then I think we can both talk now sort of about how great our programmers have been. We can do some glazing here.
Yeah, a bit of glazing is in order.
Yeah. So yeah, we got, I think it was 5 or 6 new programmers. No, I think it was 6 new programmers, and boy oh boy did we need them.
Yes.
We went from
We went-
practically nothing.
Yeah, we went from our game at the start of the semester it wasn't a game. It was terrible.
It was
a prototype to get across a vision for a game, but it was nigh unplayable. It was utterly clunky. Like most of the features we wanted were not in. We were like faking them somehow. I can't. It was terrible.
living off of like the skeletons of other games.
Yeah,
pretty much.
For the trailer, we couldn't even actually record in-game footage because we didn't have it built out enough. So we actually had to fake all the features that we wanted to show off for the original trailer in Construct. It was so goofy.
Yeah,
I was like piloting the enemies with the arrow keys and the player with the WASD key to like mimic enemy AI. It was so funky, but
yes.
Anyway, with our programmers, I mean, we went from having basically no game to having a really solid basis for a game in one semester, which
and
is
what was
awesome.
so awesome, I think, is how they all immediately kind of took initiative. I mean, there was people that were getting involved in the project even before we had started the class.
Oh, yes. We had a couple of our fellas, Deshaun and Iba. They spent 2 weeks before sort of prepping our project by converting our visual script files into their line-based coding files.
Yeah.
So that was very helpful.
Yeah.
Well, we got really lucky too. We didn't have any bad programmers. Like all our programmers were solid. You know, we just also had really, really, really good programmers too. We had like the best programming engine out of all the groups, I'd say, just from hearing what the other producers have talked about.
We're talking about like the people, not necessarily like.
Oh,
Unity's good, but
no,
yeah,
I
it's
mean
the
like
people.
programming, like the engine built out of program.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I do. Yeah, so that's probably what went best this semester, I guess, is just how well our programming folks really helped us out.
They were quite a lot of them were quite invested in design decisions too, which is really great, you know, because I don't know, it's not really fun just having drones who just sort of take orders, you know. A lot of them are very creative and have a very good understanding of game design too, so there were a lot of help to build out some of the ideas of the game, you know, especially like the player controller.
Planning could have gone better on some things. We had to
didn't go
cram
great.
on a lot of deadlines.
Yeah, we were kind of playing it fast and loose, so we would sort of what we did was we kind of go in reverse. So we'd build out a vision for where we wanted the game to be for like the next Tinkerfest or the next First Thursday, for example, and then we'd sort of work backwards. So like, what do we need for that? And that was okay.
It got us by.
It got us by, and what we really should have done is like, I mean, I needed to put, like, as the producer, I should have put in a big solid amount of work into just like planning every nitty gritty part of it. Like, first we need a particle handler, and then we need we need these particles to give off this, you know, and talk to Caleb about design stuff, you know. And really build out a vision of what we need for the game, and they get really specific on what all those tasks are going to look like. We sort of built a vision for each step, and then built the tasks as we went, and it didn't really work super well. It didn't work terribly, like stuff got done, but we were never really sure of how far we'd get, you know. We were just kind of guessing because we didn't have we didn't have a long-term vision, and then all the tasks laid out for what we needed to get to that long-term vision. We only had like a month in advance vision, and then we're happy if we got to that, and then we keep moving. So that was not the best. It wasn't terrible. It worked. It was all right, but it could have been a lot better. It could have been a lot better.
Yeah, and I think that goes right into our next stuff that we want to improve on here. Is, I mean, planning was a huge one. We'd probably want to improve on next semester, using ClickUp more.
Yeah,
that'd be. I think we started off using ClickUp, but I think we kind of got away from it just because it was taking time away from us, like trying to do our other stuff. But I think it's important, probably going forward, or just having some kind of planning metric.
I honestly want to hunt down like anybody who wants to produce for this game and like have them replace me for producing roles, because like I'm just, you know, I'm not super good at it.
Yeah,
I kind of did it because no one else wanted to do it.
Everybody else organized.
Yeah.
And on a good schedule.
We gotta have someone who's very particular, you know, always tasking stuff out and wanting to optimize stuff. Yeah. I'm not the best at that. So
that's definitely somewhere where we're looking to improve. And then some stuff definitely for moving on right into this next semester is we need enemy implementation probably first thing right off the gate.
Yeah.
Like right off the back. We need to get a bunch of enemies in because, like one of the sharks said on last Friday, we need to find the fun and the
Yeah, the
main
enemies are
thing-
kind of the core of the fun.
Exactly.
At least they sort of fill out the loop.
That's what we had envisioned, and there's not enough enemies in the current build,
And they're
not fun.
Yeah, they're not good enough.
They're not
to
engaging.
Apply that pressure that makes the
Yeah.
cleaning engaging.
So that's the very first thing I think we plan to improve upon, just getting everything enemy-wise in the game and hopefully fun. And if not, then we really need to reevaluate some things. But
Another big thing is feedback and juice, and these kind of go hand in hand. So a lot of the feedback elements that we want and we need really will also add a lot of juice to the game. So that's perfect. Like we need a lot of feedback on heat, like how hot the room is. If they're like sort of heat haze and like gets more intense as like you get closer to sources of sort of like AOE heat, stuff like that. A lot of more feedback for the lava and stuff. Sort of particle effects to show that like certain things are applying heat to you directly, like enemy attacks. All sorts of stuff like that needs feedback. And a lot of stuff like a state of the player, like the cooldown for the swipe or the dash. It's got some rudimentary feedback right now, but it's not great yet, and especially a lot more feedback on how hot the player is right now. It's not great. It's a good proof of concept. Like the player sort of just gets white hot, but it doesn't. It's not very. It sort of just you sort of only notice it when you're about to die. With the sound and the filter over the player. So we need to work on that definitely.
a lot of polish.
A lot of juice and polish like that.
Level features and level design in general. We need to do.
Yeah, we're really behind on level design.
Good overhaul.
So fortunately, that's just like we have a solid level building tools in the engine, which is another thing we invested a lot of time into. So it's not hard to build levels. We just need.
We started picking up near the end, but we need a lot more.
We just need someone to buckle down who really loves level design and just do it. Like,
Yeah.
because it's not hard. Like the programming part, there's no programming part involved. Like we darn near have Hellish Scrub Mario Maker.
Yeah.
It's like it's missing a few UI elements from being like that level. So our programmers did a really good job of making that future proofed. So we just need someone to.
It's very easy to use.
Yeah.
Which that leaves us with advice to give into the next generation here. So, I guess just general advice. I mean, listen to all the things we were saying we really struggled with here. Planning and communication was sometimes our deficits. Just better organization on when we should get things done, but I think generally things go well if you just communicate, and I mean if you're on top of your crap.
I'll be honest too. I personally, I think some of the group might feel the same. But I know personally that one of my biggest problems was not being consistent. So I would sort of dip in and out of like working hard on this game, which is a big problem. So I'd have weeks where I'm like locked in and doing a bunch of art assets and doing a bunch of planning and design and stuff. And then sort of like checking out for a little while, and like not abruptly, but like it sort of phases in and out. Like I'd lull off and then get back in. It sort of felt like that for some people, throughout the rest of our group too. Sometimes that's necessary because you have other classes, of course, but you want to at least keep a floor of consistent discipline with this. You almost have to be obsessed with this game. Like the most successful game by far in our class is Silliards, and that's just because Drew and Garrett are darn near obsessed with it, and it's awesome. I always see Drew working on it. He says he lives and breathes Silliards. He wakes up and he like thinks about it. I mean, they dream about Silliards, and it sounds crazy, but I think if you want to have a real successful good game, like so to take this from just like a funny little student prototype that is you might be a little embarrassed of, you might be a little proud of, but it's really not like anything consumer worthy, to like something that's a really cool art project that people might be interested in playing, I think the key is just being obsessed with it.
Mm-hmm.
Like even if you have to force yourself, like getting some consistent flow of work going. Always be working on it. Always try and be thinking about it. I don't know. Even in the times when you can't do as much work on it, keeping some flow of that going.
I think having like a good uniform idea of where things should be, like among the entire group in the game,
Yeah.
I think that also helps limit like how much cramming people have to do.
Yeah.
So I think if we were to like go back and do it again, I think one thing at least I would have tried to do a better job of is definitely like being like, okay, everybody, we want to have all this by this point. What do we need to do to get there? And everybody
harder
is talking
deadlines
about it together.
Next semester, we're gonna like have hard deadlines. We need to say like, if we don't have this done by this date, we're gonna fall behind. So like, it's pretty critical that we do that,
And
because this semester we were kind of just like, get it done whenever, here's your tasks, and that worked. But like, I think if we did have sort of hard deadlines, then and then just be forgiving when some people will inevitably miss them, and that's fine, because like life happens, and a lot of times the task was bigger than we thought, But,
and I think if we're like better like communicating wise, like on what actually goes into a task, because like a lot of times we'd have to like assign somebody something with not fully knowing what they have to do.
No, yeah, you're completely right.
The times get really wacky.
We
like
almost
how long.
have to have like Zach or Eba there with us when we're making tasks. Go like, all right, programmer, spit out an estimate for like how long this programming task is going to go. And Zach's like, yeah, we're going to need a whole handler for this, or like this will be easy. I could knock this out in a half an hour. It's just because like me and Noah have no idea. Yeah. We don't know.
And I think just telling people to be as generous with the time as they might need, like, and just honest in general, like just because. Like if we don't have something done by a certain time, then it could throw everything else off.
Yeah.
And you just like, it's just nice to have everybody on the same page with that.
Yes. I think part of that goes into actually having a really well thought out and specific plan for the whole semester. Mm-hmm. And it's tough because inevitably, especially if you're making this at the beginning, most of it is going to get thrown out, and all that work that went into making this long drawn-out vision and with specific tasks to lead up to that vision is going to get thrown away. But I think that's the sacrifice you have to make, because you need a specific vision of the end goal, and then you need specific tasks leading up to that to be able to do the current tasks properly. I think like that was one of the things we had. Like we kind of did the opposite. So we didn't front load having a big specific vision, with like specific tasks leading up to it, because we didn't want to have to throw all that work out. When it went, so we kind of left it floating. We'd only really ever plan a month in advance. We had a vague vision for the future after that, and I think the quality of the work suffered for that, and the amount of work we got done suffered for that. So I think a very worthy sacrifice would be making a really regimented plan through the whole semester, even though most of it's going to get thrown out inevitably. Like our plans for level design got thrown out when we added the heat system, and our plans for the enemies work got thrown out because of that too. So all that ideas for the future get thrown out. But then, I think that's worth it. To be able to have a specific plan and keep everybody on board and have a really good timeline laid out.
Yeah. All right. Good deal.
Yeah.
Well, good luck to the next generation.
Good luck.
And we've been Hellish Scrub.
Hellish Scrub.